My name is Ron McClellan, member of the Connecticut AFL-CIO Safety Committee. And brothers and sisters, welcome to the 2024 Connecticut AFL-CIO Workers' Memorial Ceremony. And first thing on our program is going to be presentation of colors. Your Hartford Fire and Police Department Honor Guard and Connecticut Firefighters Pipes and Drums. Can I have Paul Venti, please? Paul is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Paul Venti, United States Navy. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Get ready. All right. Quick. March.
Shelley. To welcome you all to Hartford, our Connecticut AFL-CIO Secretary Treasurer Shelley Davis.
Good afternoon, Union family. On behalf of the Greater Hartford Labor Coalition and the Connecticut AFL-CIO, I want to welcome you all to our capital city. Every year on April 28th, we hold our Workers' Memorial Day ceremony. It's a day when working families, union members, and elected officials come together to remember each worker killed, injured, and sickened from their jobs. But it is also to organize for an end to the unnecessary deaths of our brothers and sisters. Nationally, nearly 5,500 workers were killed on the job in 2022. An estimated 120,000 workers died from occupational diseases. That's 344 workers dying each day from an on-the-job injury and illness. Let me say that again. 344 workers dying every single day. And workers of color die on the job at a higher rate compared with all other workers. In fact, black workers' job fatality rate was the highest it's been in nearly 15 years. From La Alliance Plaza to Clean Energy in Sandy Hook Elementary School, to the workers who die every year in the highway work zones, and countless others who have lost their lives on the job or who suffer injury or illness at work, we remember and honor them this day, today. But we also honor their memories by fighting to make sure every worker who goes to work comes home safely at the end of the day. As a labor movement, worker health and safety must continue to be our top priority. And we will recommit ourselves to holding elected leaders and employers accountable to provide safe working conditions for all working people. Thank you.
So our first speaker, I was thinking about this this morning on the way here. There's nothing better than having a lifelong friend that has your back. And what's better than that is a lifelong friend that has your back that's a U.S. Senator. And our next speaker has had the backs of working men and women in Connecticut. I'm getting old, and as long as I can remember, for a long time. And we're forever grateful for that. Our next speaker, Dick Blumenthal.
Thank you so much. You're not getting old, but I have been on the side of unions for a long time, for as long as I can remember, for as long as I have held elective office, for as long as I've been an attorney, for as long as I've known what unions do and what they are. And no one should doubt that the reason that we have worker safety laws are unions. The reason why we have enforcement of worker safety laws are the unions. And the reason why we will have better enforcement, and we need better enforcement, is because of unions. They make us strong. None of us individually can do it alone. And we know that the sources of danger to workers on the job every day are becoming more complicated and more difficult. We know that the lift slab process at L'Ambiance killed people who went to work that day thinking they were going to come home. Their families thought they would come home. And the people who were running that job, the architects, the contractors, and the owner, most especially, knew that lift slab should have been prohibited there and across the country, and eventually it was, but too late for the men who died that day. And that's just one example. Now we have toxic chemicals in the places where firefighters go to rescue people when there are fires. Peter Brown, who is such a great leader of the firefighters, knows better than anyone, and he richly deserves the award that he is receiving today. Those toxic chemicals are a bigger danger now in many ways than the other kinds of physical things that are more visible, because they cause invisible wounds and diseases that manifest years later. So we have our job cut out for us to make sure that the cancer and the diabetes and the hypertension, all those effects of those toxic chemicals are stopped, whether it's PFAS or any other kinds of chemicals. And the ones who can be our ambassadors are the young people who will be receiving scholarships today. We need to make all of our young people aware of those dangers and of the importance of unions in stopping them. Today, we mourn, but as John Olson is fond of reminding us, thank you, John, for being here, we can mourn the dead, but fight like hell for the living. Fight like hell for the living. And get rid of a Congress that is unwilling or unable to side with working men and women. Replace a Congress or individual members of Congress that are afraid or unwilling to stand up for working men and women. We have an election coming up. Let's put worker safety on the ballot. Let's make worker safety a defining issue in this election and fight like hell for the living. I have certificates of recognition for the scholarship recipients and for the honorees, and I'm going to wait to give them out until we honor them. But let me just say that today is a reminder that we will continue to fight like hell. And all of us owe it to the men and women you represent so well and that we care so much about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. To announce our next speaker, I want to bring up Kyle Zimmer, the co-chair of the Connecticut AFL-CIO Safety Committee.
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I know we had to do a quick switch and bait and move the ceremony from our beautiful memorial down by the arch up here, but there was another very good cause going on here this morning, and that was the childhood cancer run for the superhero. So we're glad we're here. We're glad they had their event and that went successfully. So thank you for everybody for coming. Our keynote speaker this year is Attorney General William Tong. And I wanted the privilege of introducing the Attorney General for the work that he's done that's affected everybody standing here and everybody that works for a living and all the families that they support. And that's the work that Attorney General Tong has done on the opioid crisis. If you look at the movie Dope Sick, at the end, the last person you see being interviewed is our Attorney General. He was very, very instrumental on getting the lawsuits filed and one that delivered a monumental amount of money to the states, cities and towns, and labor organizations that need it to fight this crisis. One of the initiatives that we're doing in Connecticut, and you'll hear a little bit about it in a minute, is that of getting naloxone into the hands of every working man and woman in the state of Connecticut. There are doses of naloxone here. I'm going to show you how to use it in a little bit. But right now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our Attorney General. Thank you.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I said, hello, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Kyle, for that very generous introduction. Although when you kept referring to the Attorney General, I saw Blumenthal flinch for a second.
Sorry.
But it's always an honor to be here with Senator Blumenthal, who I call affectionately the OG AG. He served us for 5 terms and showed me how to do this job the right way. So thank you, Senator. Thank you to Shelley Davis, the Secretary Treasurer. Thank you, Ed Hawthorne, the President. Thank you, John Olson, for being here, our very good friend for so long. Thank you for all the labor leaders, not just for being here, but for your work every single day. We have a couple more weeks or a week and a half left and a lot more work to do ahead of us. Thank you, Ron, and the entire Health and Safety Committee. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some thoughts this morning on Workers' Memorial Day. So let me just start by saying we're here to remember the people that we've lost, to do all that we can to not lose more people prematurely or before it is their time. And it's important to think about the people who are struggling and who are suffering, the people that are injured, the people that are sick, the people suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, the people who have cancer, the people who have been exposed to other occupational hazards, the people who are still fighting every single day. Let us remember them and let us continue in the fight with them. And it's hard to begin this conversation without, as Senator Blumenthal said, remembering the people at L'Ambiance. And I was just there a few days ago, as we go every year, 37 years now running, to remember how 37 years ago, 28 people tragically, suddenly died at a construction site in Bridgeport because the owners and the people who were in charge did not take care to be sure that it was a safe workplace for the workers, and they focused on the money, right? For them, it was all about the money, and that's why people died. And I had the opportunity this year to meet a family, 2 daughters of a worker who lost their dad 37 years ago, and I asked them, you know, what happened that day. They're from Ellington. And I said, well, what was your dad doing in Bridgeport? And he said, well, he was in Ellington. He wasn't supposed to be there that day, but he was told by the boss, he was a foreman, that he had to deliver paychecks to the workers on the job site. So he drove from Ellington, he went into the building, he dropped off the paychecks, and as soon as he turned around, the building came down. And they lost him. These 2 sisters, 2 daughters, 2 moms, I think roughly my age, right, have lived their entire lives without their dad. And it really put into focus how many people lost a dad, an uncle, right, a son, and how big the hole is for those families and those people. And it really helped me see that it's not just about the money. It's never just about the money. It's about the families. And it's about the people that have to live on when we lose somebody, when somebody gets sick. It's about carrying that burden year after year, day after day, if someone has PTSD or cancer, right? It's about the huge hole left in those families and those communities. And so as we take on these fights over the next week and a half, and in the weeks and months and years ahead, let us always remember it's about workers and their families and spouses and partners and children and nieces and nephews, and not just about the money. And so when we had the chance, when I was face to face with Purdue Pharma and the Sacklers, they put $3 billion on the table to settle all of our claims against them. I said, no, that's not enough. And about half the states agreed with me then. But then fast forward about a year later, they put $4.375 billion on the table, which was a lot more money, to be fair. And most of the states wanted to take that money. About 8 of us and the District of Columbia still said no. And a bunch of my very influential colleagues, state attorneys general, pulled me aside and they said, William, that's a lot of money. That'll go a long way to helping people in need, people who are suffering from addiction. It'll go a long way to helping treatment and prevention programs across the state of Connecticut and across this country. We should take the money. Why won't you take the money? And I said, because it's not just about the money. It's about families. It's about Kyle Zimmer and his members, right? It's about people in the building trades who are disproportionately impacted by the opioid and addiction crisis. It's about every member of the building trades and all of these other unions and members who go to work and they get hurt and they get that now notorious bottle of way too many pills. And they get addicted and they suffer and they go to hell and back. And if they're lucky, they're in recovery for the rest of their lives. That's a walk that we will have to take with them for the rest of their lives. And if we're not, we lose them. And it's because of that, it's because of the worst public health crisis in America that Senator Blumenthal continues to fight and that he fought as Attorney General, that we have to do Narcan training today, right? That's what this is about. It's not just about the money. It's not just about the money when we take on the CBIA, who sued us over the captive audience law, right? That's not just about money. It's about the rights of workers to organize. It's about all of you, and not just your legal right, but your God-given right to organize with each other and to fight for fair wages and benefits so you can provide for your families, so that you don't get put in a room. You don't get put in a room and told what to believe. We've heard stories of people who are in captive audience meetings where the door is barred. They can't even leave. Kept in a pen like prisoners. That's why we passed the captive audience law, to give people the right to believe what they want, to rely on their own conscience, and to organize with their fellow workers. And of course, the fight for the workers at the service plazas, sure, it's about standard wages. No, it's not just about money. It's not just about wages. It's about the dignity of work. It's about not being lied to. It's about showing up at work and believing that you're going to be paid a standard wage, and a law that says you should be paid a standard wage, and actually having employers that pay you that standard wage. We're not talking about big money, folks. We're talking about people that work at Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, right? We're talking about people that are just trying to put it together and make it happen for their families, mostly immigrant families like my own, mostly people who are just trying to get a foothold in this country. So as we remember workers here today, the people who were injured, the people who are sick, the people who we've lost, let's always remember, every time you sit down at that bargaining table, you look him in the eye and you say, it's not just about the money. It's about our workers, it's about people, it's about families, it's about putting food on the table, paying for education, paying for health care. And it's never, ever, ever just about the money. Thank you.
Thank you. William, I'd like to present this award to you from the Connecticut AFL-CIO Health and Safety Committee, which honors and recognizes you for your leadership in holding the entire addiction industry accountable in an attempt to save lives through opioid treatment and prevention, and for working to protect firefighters in our communities from the forever chemical known as PFAS. Presented at Workers' Memorial Day, April 28, 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Great job.
Great job.
Thank you, Attorney General Tong. Our next speaker really doesn't need any introduction. However, he keeps all of our affiliates, we're here from a number of different union locals, different jobs, different backgrounds, but we all have the same core values and the same core goal of a better life for our families going forward, our next generation, for workers, organizing, political action, all those things. He keeps us in unity and on that same path always. The president of the Connecticut AFL-CIO, Ed Hawthorne.
Good afternoon, Union family. First, I want to thank the Connecticut AFL-CIO Health and Safety Committee for putting this memorial together, as we do every year. Especially want to acknowledge our co-chairs, Kyle Zimmer of the Operating Engineers and Bruce Gove of the Machinists. They've put countless hours into creating this program and organizing the committee, so thank you, Kyle and Bruce. More than 50 years ago, the Occupational Safety and Health Act went into effect, promising every worker a fundamental right to a safe job. That law was won because of the tireless effort of union members just like you and me. It's estimated that nearly 690,000 workers' lives have been saved since its passage. We should be proud of how far we've come. In fact, Connecticut has the second lowest worker fatality rate in the nation, and that's in no small part due to workers organizing and forming unions right here in the Constitution State. But even one death on the job is too many. As we heard from Shelley earlier, nearly 5,500 workers lost their lives on the job in this country. In Connecticut, 34 workers were killed on the job in 2022. But we don't often hear those stories because it may be one worker dying at a time. But each death on the job is a failure. Each death is a reminder that we can and we must do better. We often talk about pay, pension, and health care, but I'll tell you, none of that matters if you don't come home at night. No one should suffer injuries or illness simply because they went to work to provide for their family. There are three main reasons workers continue to suffer and die on the job. One is an employer cutting corners, corporate greed. Second is some elected officials, not the ones we have here today, rolling back worker safety legislation like the child labor laws that we continue to fight off in that building behind me. And third, the lack of protection and enforcement of the laws we already have on the books. Let me give you an example of that. In Connecticut, we have 20 OSHA inspectors, 20 for the entire state. But we have so many workplaces, it would take those inspectors 199 years to inspect a workplace just once. 2 centuries to inspect a workplace one time. That is simply unacceptable. And that's why we're here today. We can't let our elected officials weaken health and safety protections for working people, and we can't let the corporations get away with putting profits ahead of people's lives. Our work is far from finished. Right behind me in our state capitol, the General Assembly is debating critical worker health and safety legislation that could prevent future injuries and illnesses for workers. This year's legislative session ends in just a week and a half. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to get involved with efforts to pass critical health and safety legislation. One bill would establish a work zone camera program to encourage motorists to slow down when driving through highway work zones. Imagine trying to do your job with a 2-ton SUV driving 80 miles an hour past you, and the only protection sometimes is a high visibility vest and some cones on a highway. Another would push cities and towns to eventually replace firefighter gear with ones that do not contain the forever chemical known as PFAS, which is proven to cause cancer. And there's an effort to ensure our home healthcare workers are safe and we don't see another tragedy like we did in Willimantic last year. These are just a few examples of common sense bills that will benefit every worker in Connecticut. And we will not stop until every worker is able to go to work and come home safely to their families. Because that's really all anyone wants. Earn a decent living, return home safely, and I don't think that's too much to ask. In the words of Mother Jones, pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. And when we leave here today, let's remember those words. Let's recommit ourselves to health and safety, ensuring that every worker comes home safe and sound to their family. I thank you all for being here, and God bless.
Thank you, Ed. And point of personal privilege, near to my heart, as you mentioned, in the highway workers. The reason why we have to have a camera law is people don't slow down. They don't pay attention. They're distracted. You see it yourself. So as you're traveling the highways, let us be the example. These folks here, be the example. Slow down, protect these workers, and call your legislator and support that legislation. Before I introduce our next two speakers, the Connecticut AFL-CIO Safety Committee that works all year on safety issues and organizes this event. Every good committee has to have somebody that organizes us, and I want to recognize David Dalzin. Kyle and I just tried to come up with a real nice fancy title for him. We're going to work on that because it's hard to encompass what he does in a couple of words, but much appreciated, David. Our next two speakers, co-chairs of the Connecticut AFL-CIO Health and Safety Committee, Kyle Zimmer and Bruce Gove.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming. I was debating on what to say today, but I was just thinking about commitment, right? So like 20 years ago, I've been involved in safety for a long time, like most of you here. About 20 years ago, UTC executive said to me one day, right before a steering team meeting, "Why do you union guys care about safety so much?" I said, "I'll show you in 5 minutes." So we go in a meeting, there's 10 salary, 10 union guys, and I said, "How many people in this room been injured on a job?" And every union person raised their hand. I said, "See? Because it's the right thing to do, right?" So how many people here have been injured on a job? See? You know what I mean? That's why we are committed to this and why we do this for careers. Because we don't want to see people getting injured on a job or killed on a job. You know, it's all about us. So I want to thank everybody for coming today, taking time out of your Sunday, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's me again. So I was wondering what to talk about this year, and something near and dear to my heart is the Attorney General referred to as the opioid crisis and the work that we've been doing. And every year I try to pick a topic in the Connecticut State Building Trades that we should be using for our annual refresher training, whether it's mental health, addiction, or suicide prevention. And this year we settled on the Narcan, naloxone training. And I took on probably a little more than I could chew at the beginning, and I partnered with a very good, strong community alliance group named Alliance to get naloxone doses so that we could train our members and get it into the workforce. There's a national effort to get naloxone on every construction site in the country. I can honestly say right now Connecticut's leading that charge. Since the first of this year, we have distributed over 2,000 of these kits, naloxone overdose prevention kits, to Connecticut State Building Trades workers. That effort's expanding into the AFL-CIO, with Ed, Shelley, and the entire safety committee wanting to do naloxone training at our upcoming convention and offer it to all of our affiliates. The point of naloxone is getting it into the community, not to have it sit on a warehouse, not to spend the opioid overdose money. It's to get it in the hands of people that can save lives. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, we had to pass legislation. Rick Hart from the firefighters, myself headed it. We had to pass legislation to get it on every fire truck, ambulance, and every police cruiser. Do you remember that? People didn't want it. People didn't understand it. Kind of like AEDs, automatic external defibrillators that you see in every place of business, in restaurants, in gymnasiums, in places of public assembly, and possibly in your own union halls. People didn't understand AEDs, but they grasped the concept of it and they made it work. It's a life-saving device. It doesn't cure cardiac disease, but it gives the person a second chance. This, what I'm holding in my hand, as a life-saving device. It gives a person a second chance. There's startling numbers coming out now because we are finally tracking data on opioid overdoses and overdoses in general. Startling numbers. In 2011, for instance, there were 45 workplace overdose deaths. That's overdoses that happen in the place of work, whether it's a firehouse, construction site, school, university, healthcare facility, where an employee overdosed and died. 45. In 2021, there were 465 workplace opioid deaths. In 2023, almost 1,000. And those are statistics from the National Safety Council. So it's important that we grasp this life-saving device and get it into your workplace, get it into your vehicles, get it into your homes. We have boxes over there, and there's 2 doses in each box, and the directions are on the back. This is very simple to use. Here's what you're going to see in the box. A packet like this. You open it up and there's instructions, but you probably won't have time to read them when you're administering it. But make sure you go on a website and learn how to use Narcan, naloxone. And in there, there's applicators like this. I'm going to open up this box and show you. That one's used. There's 2 packets. Again, all you need to do is peel and take out the applicator. Now you see on this applicator there's a little red button. That's the activator. It's a nasal spray, but unlike Afrin or Flonase or saline solution, you don't prime it, okay? This is already primed and ready to go with 4 milliliters of naloxone. It's very simple. It goes in the nasal cavity, either side, depending on which one. And if the person is unresponsive, she's not responding at all to your commands to wake up or not breathing, you don't see him breathing, it's simple. You just put your thumb on this red thing, and if you watch it, you may be able to see it come out. 1, 2, 3, there's your dose of Narcan. It's as simple as that. It's immediate response. It knocks the opioids off of the receptors in your brain that control your respiratory system. This is a no-harm drug. If the person isn't suffering from opioid overdose, it will not harm them. So even if you don't know if they've taken an opioid or are suffering from an overdose, use it. Because chances are right now, this is more effective than that AED that I talked to you about. More people are dying of overdoses than cardiac arrest. So please, keep that in mind. There's boxes over there. I have some more in my truck. If everybody takes a box, I'd appreciate it. So thank you. One other thing before I go, there's been a group of people that have been with us for long before I was even involved, which is about 12 years. But every year I make one phone call to Kenny Blake, who's standing over there, a fellow operating engineer from Local 478. And I said, Kenny, yep, I got you on the calendar. I don't even have to say what I'm calling for. And he makes all the arrangements for Connecticut Pipes and Drums. And these gentlemen turn out year after year after year to be with us. This year we decided to recognize them and give them a nice award where they can hang in their hall. So gentlemen, come on over. Thank you, Ken. The Black reads, the Connecticut AFL-CIO Health and Safety Committee recognizes and commends the Connecticut firefighters, pipes, and drums for your many years of dedication and support of our annual Workers' Memorial Day ceremony presented on Workers' Memorial Day, April 28, 2024, Workers' Memorial, Bushnell Park, Hartford, Connecticut.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all the help. Year after year, these guys turn out.
And I have a certificate of special recognition from the Senate of the United States. I'm very proud to present to you. Thank you for your.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let me get in on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Ron?
I'm congratulating our awardees,
Okay,
and I'm right here.
all right.
I can't say that I don't miss being at our beautiful memorial. If anybody ever wants to know the history of the memorial, how it got built, John Olson, our president emeritus, who was instrumental, he and his wife Janine, and our next speaker, Mike Petosa, they'll tell you the story about what a fight it was to get it built and the whole history behind it. So if you ever have a chance, it's an interesting story. And I don't have to say anything more about Mike other than his name's on an award. When your name's on an award, say no more. Mike.
Thank you, Ron. And good afternoon, brothers and sisters, members of our labor family. It is an honor and a privilege to present this award today. And I'm also very honored and humbled to have an award named after me. I can't say enough about that. But the two recipients that are receiving the award today are career firefighters who lead their organizations, who have worked with great effort to make certain that our cities and towns stay safe and that our fellow firefighters stay safe. Because as you know, when firefighters are running into a building, people are running out of a building. And they have a very, very difficult job and all sorts of conditions. So our first recipient today is Peter Brown. Peter, can you come up? Peter was elected president of the Uniformed Professional Firefighters in 2022. Prior to that, he served as a district vice president for 10 years. He presently serves as a lieutenant with the Norwalk Fire Department. I do not know how he has time to do everything, but he has continued to lead the UPFFA and their members for better and safer working conditions, and I'm very honored to present this award to him. The plaque reads, the Connecticut AFL-CIO presents the Michael Petosa Health and Safety Award to Peter Brown, President, Uniformed Professional Firefighters Association of Connecticut, for your steadfast advocacy for firefighter health and safety, including leading the passage of legislation to create a presumption for firefighters who develop cancer, presented on Workers' Memorial Day, April 28th, 2024, Workers' Memorial, Bushnell Park, Hartford, Connecticut.
Senator. And I want to, again, honor Peter, who does so much great work. I'm personally familiar with it all around the state of Connecticut. He's a national leader, truly a national leader. Peter, thank you for all your great service.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. And thank you, Mike, for those kind words. And to receive an award with your name on it for all you do for our organization means a lot. I want to thank President Hawthorne, Secretary Treasurer Davis, the AFL-CIO, along with the Health and Safety Committee for this recognition. I know how many health and safety and workers' rights champions we have in this organization, so to be considered among that group is pretty humbling. I accept this on behalf of not just the Uniformed Professional Firefighters Association of Connecticut and all of our affiliate locals, but on behalf of the entire Connecticut Fire Service, because unfortunately cancer does not discriminate. It's affected firefighters across this state, each and every corner of this state, each and every fire department across this state for far too long. We do this work in memory of all those we lost, including 3 firefighters that we lost to cancer last year. We do this work for the hundreds and hundreds of firefighters that have received that diagnosis of occupational cancer throughout their career. We do this work for the families that suffer alongside their loved ones and battle through this. And talking to so many of them, all they want to do is get better, spend more time with their family, and get back to the job that they love. So seeing what they go through makes this work easy. That's what drove us to get this important legislation passed last year that protects our firefighters and provides them the critical benefits they so greatly needed. That continues to drive our work this year as we fight to get PFAS chemicals out of our turnout gear. Those chemicals, as the senator mentioned, we have no problem running into a burning building and putting our lives on the line each and every day. We didn't sign up to be poisoned by these chemicals every time we go to work. So we're not going to stop until we do that, and we're not going to stop until we reach our ultimate goal of ridding the fire service of occupational cancer once and for all. So thank you for standing with us, and I hope you continue to join us in that fight. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Our next recipient is the president of IAFF Local 760, Arturo Rosa. Arturo was elected president of IAFF Local 760 in 2023. He has a big city that him and his fellow firefighters have to keep safe. And they do a fantastic job. And I'm honored to present this award to him. The plaque reads, the Connecticut AFL-CIO presents the Michael Petosa Health and Safety Award to Hartford Firefighters Association, IAFF Local 760, in recognition of your dedication to protecting firefighters and the community you serve for over 80 years, and for your steadfast advocacy for firefighter health and safety across the state. Presented on Workers' Memorial Day, April 28, 2024, Workers' Memorial, Bushnell Park, Hartford, Connecticut.
Thank you to the AFL-CIO and to everyone who put this day together, the AFL-CIO Health and Safety Committee. I've been president for only 4 months, so I think that this award truly rests with the men and women of our fire department, to Pete Brown, to all of the leaders across the state who day in and day out put the work in to fight for the safety of workers, not just firefighters, but for all workers across the state of Connecticut. I'll just leave one quick allegory with you. On October 7th, 2014, the Hartford Fire Department lost one of our brothers, Brother Kevin Bell, who fell fighting a fire inside of a structure fire. And I happened to be on the third due engine in the back seat riding at that fire. And so I was present to witness the saddest day, the ultimate sacrifice that a worker can give to make sure and ensure that the citizens of his city, the people that the men and women show up to serve, are protected. And he made that ultimate sacrifice. And Treasurer Shelley made mention of the over 5,000 workers who pass away in a given year, and probably more. And I dedicate this to all of the leaders across the state and those who serve federally, Senator Blumenthal, to forward those rights, to advocate on behalf of all of the workers who put in their time to service our communities and to service all of our nation. So I thank you. I don't think it's quite deserved with me, but on behalf of Local 760, all of our men and women, I say thank you.
Congratulations to our award winners. Next, to give out our legislative award, Ed Hawthorne.
Our next award recipient is Senator and Dr. Saud Anwar. And he's somebody that is always there for working people. In fact, the story I like to tell about him is he doesn't just walk a picket line. He picks up the drums and drums along with the workers. If anyone was at the 1199 picket, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But Senator Anwar, during the pandemic, was fighting to protect people's lungs. He was on the front lines doing that. He was fighting for it in that building. He's holding pharmaceutical companies accountable and lowering the cost of prescription drugs. He's the reason why insulin is affordable in our state. And currently, right now, he's fighting to make sure that our healthcare workers are protected and the tragedy that happened to our nurse in Willimantic never happens again. It is my great honor to introduce a tried and true advocate for working people in health and safety, Senator Dr. Saud Anwar.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor for me to be here in the presence of all of you and then to be recognized with this award. I want to share a few thoughts with you. The fight that we fight in this building is never over. Because just because you have success at one point, be assured that the people will come back and try to take away your protections. I'll give you an example. I got elected in 2019, and one of the first bills that I saw was that they wanted to bring asbestos back into manufacturing. And I literally looked at that bill and looked at the calendar. I said, did I go in another world? Am I back in the 1960s? And when I started to have this conversation, the people said, it's a safe asbestos. I said, I have seen more people die from mesothelioma in this state of Connecticut than anybody else has. And I'll tell you why in a second. And you cannot convince me that there's anything like safe asbestos. And we had to have arguments to the point that this was coming as an amendment in the Public Health Committee. And then when it was coming as an amendment, I actually looked in the eyes of my colleagues who were bringing it. I said, I want you to look at the camera very clearly with your eyes open, because when people start to die, they would love to see you. And then it started to go to each and every one of them. I said, you will be responsible for the death of workers if you move in this direction. And they were not able to bring that amendment forward. But this is what we have to deal with in this building on a very frequent basis. Now I'll tell you why I actually get to see more mesothelioma and other diseases. As you've heard, I'm a physician, but I'm a pulmonologist and I have a fellowship in occupational and environmental medicine. And as my fellowship in occupational medicine and a pulmonologist, I'm one of the very few in the entire country with that training. So I end up seeing all the complex occupational lung diseases which cause death or in the process of causing death. I actually am dealing with asbestosis even now. I see mesotheliomas when we should have stopped seeing them 10, 15 years ago. I'm still seeing mesothelioma cases in our country, in our state. And we actually also see so many more. Last year we were working on this bill for the firefighters and cancers. Now I know people who are dying from this. I know individuals who are dying from this. So this is personal. And that really helps to be in the room when you know people who have been hurt by this or in the process of it. But every single case is too many. And that's where we have to change the policies. And you have to fight for those policies, because on the end of that line is your family member, our brothers and sisters who are just doing the right thing. They are trying to make an honest living. Can we just have the ability for American workers to have an honest living and not have to die fast or slowly? Because that's what some of these big corporations are working on, is to either kill you fast or kill you slowly. And if you don't fight that fight, they are moving forward with their laws, and they will do anything that they can. I want to talk about the healthcare workers. Right after the pandemic, where so many healthcare workers have died just because they were doing the right thing, we are seeing such a big fight. Senate Bill 1 is about protecting healthcare workers and the home healthcare workers. And the amount of fight that we have to have just for that purpose is just fascinating, that we have two worlds. One world which wants to just say we want to work and be safe. Another world says that we will take anything and everything from you, even your life, so that we can profit from it. So this fight is real, and the fight is not over. It has to be every day, every moment, every election, and we have to do this, and we have to do this in a manner like your life and your family's life depends on it. And as long as I'm here, I will be with you, standing next to you, and we will do this together. Thank you for this honor. Thank you.
The Connecticut AFL-CIO presents the Health and Safety Legislative Award to Senator Saud Anwar in recognition of your dedication to worker health and safety, including fighting for legislation to improve workplace safety for healthcare workers, safe staffing, and preventing workplace violence, and helping to address the ongoing opioid crisis. Presented on Workers' Memorial Day, April 28, 2024, Workers' Memorial, Bushnell Park.
Senator, should step here and then you can get a picture. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you for everything. So while we're on the subject of people that are fighting for us in the Capitol, I just want to acknowledge a few folks that are here that are also champions of workplace safety. We have Senator Matt Lesser of Middletown here. State Representative and AFT own Mary Fortier of Bristol. And an AFSCME retiree, I always say it's not about party, it's about values. Our friend on the Republican side of the aisle from South Windsor, Representative Tom Delnicki. Thank you all for coming today.
So next to give out our scholarship awards from Connecticut, Pamela Pekowski.
Would the scholarship winners please come up? So, good afternoon. I'd first like to acknowledge some of the groups and individuals whose donations of money and time enabled us to offer this contest and the subsequent awards. Thank you to all the unions who donated specifically for this contest. Your generosity has financed not only the top 3 awards, but we were also able to offer an additional 2 fourth-place awards. I would also like to acknowledge our 3 judges, Ann Bracker, Betty Marafino, and Richard Gross, who took on the enormous task of reading and judging 81 essays, our highest number of submissions so far. They also assisted with developing the 3 prompts that the high school seniors were able to choose from. The topics range from the impact of being related to first responders, to work zone safety, and to the use of Narcan in the workplace. Although they found it difficult to judge the responses to these prompts, they ultimately did so, and 4 of our 5 winners are standing here ready to share an excerpt from their essays. Our first 4th place winner is Madison Colandriello. Madison is not here today because she had already committed to a Best Buddies charity event at this time. She volunteers for numerous organizations and plans to major in special education. Madison's essay spoke about how having a firefighter dad has impacted her life. Her father and grandfather are members of the UPFFA and the IFFA Local 1426, and her mother is a Fairfield Schools teacher and a Fairfield Public Schools teacher and a member of NEA-CEA and the Fairfield Education Association. Madison chose the following sentences to share with you. One person alone would not have been able to make these changes happen, but the union did. The union not only fights for the rights and safety of current members, but for the benefit of future members as well. Our second 4th place winner is Brian Gomez, who is graduating from the Francis T. Maloney High School in Meriden, where he is on the volleyball team, plays in the orchestra, and is a member of the Interact Club and Skills USA. Brian will be studying civil engineering at Quinnipiac University next year. His essay focused on work zone safety, and he is here to share an excerpt from it. Come on up, Brian.
Safety should take priority over progress and profit. It should not be a second thought and should be planned out accordingly. Workers have to be placed in dangerous situations to complete their work while having to provide for their families at home. It is vital to make sure that all of these safety measures are in place. It can save lives and prevent accidents from happening. A worker should never have to fear that a day at work could be their last. They should be able to work knowing that precautions are in place to protect them.
Thank you. Sam Cooper from Stamford High School is our third place winner. He plays high school baseball, lifts weights, and enjoys experiencing new things. Sam is excited to be attending the University of Florida next year, where he will be majoring in finance. His essay spoke about the impact on his life of having two older brothers in the Stamford Police Department. Sam? You want to just read for me?
Many people my age would not like to have two brothers as police officers, yet I do. My family and I are very proud of them and their accomplishments, and I look up to them. They are leaders in our community, and seeing my family members have such a positive impact on our city gives a deep sense of pride. Although it is very stressful, the rest of our family understands they are very well trained and have a brotherhood among the officers to ensure they are as safe as possible when carrying out their duties. Thank you.
The second place winner is Nyok Dang, who is graduating from the St. Thomas More School in Oakland, Connecticut. Nyok is very passionate about environmental activism, and her extracurricular activities reflect that passion. She is engaged in climate awareness campaigns, community cleanup projects, and environmental science research, as well as other community service initiatives and charities. Nyok plans to major in biochemistry at Boston University in the pre-med track. Her essay focused on work zone safety.
Considering the paramount importance of human life, it is imperative to implement work zone safety countermeasures. The safety of laborers in highway constructions and maintenance projects must take proactive measures to mitigate risk and enhance work zone safety, as highlighted by the escalating dangers of accidents. By prioritizing safety through comprehensive training, infrastructure improvements, technological innovations, and stricter enforcement measures, we can create safer work environments for all involved. Thank you.
Great job.
Amy Morrissey is the first place winner of this year's scholarship essay contest. Amy is graduating from Naugatuck High School, where she swims and plays tennis and volunteers with the Naugatuck Youth Services. She will attend Harvard College next year, where she plans to study government and minor in economics. Amy chose to address the use of Narcan in the workplace.
Though I wish it was not, the opioid crisis is an unfortunate fact of the world we live in today. Workers are especially susceptible to having an opioid overdose, as stress, certain occupations, and workplace injuries can increase the appeal of and access to opioids. Narcan presents itself as one of the most effective and easy to administer treatments available to counteract an overdose. It reverses overdoses quickly, with few serious side effects. Making Narcan accessible in all workplaces will help ensure that opioid overdoses, such as the one that occurred at my high school at 7:20 a.m., can be dealt with effectively. It will help ensure that 7:20 in the morning or any other time does not mean death, but rather a human life saved.
See you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for coming today. We congratulate you and wish you well in your future endeavors. Ultimately, we hope that you will consider worker health and safety as a priority in those endeavors. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Steve Schrag, affectionately known as Steve Schrag the Safety Nag, coined by Ron McClellan a few years back, for his passionate focus on the rights of workers to be safe in their workplace. Every year, Steve works to collate the names of the various workers who died as a result of a workplace injury or illness, and he is here to share those with you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Ron, for the moniker. Good afternoon. My name is Steve Schrag, and I am the chair of the Connecticut Council on Occupational Safety and Health. Connecticut, since its beginning in the early 1980s, has been driven to help ensure that every worker in every workplace goes home safe at the end of their shift. How did we do since last year when we met here a year ago? Last year, 61 workers died on the job. According to the Worker Comp Commission and the Connecticut DOL, 40 workers did not return home to their families this year. Here are their names. Howard Class, exposure to asbestos. William Layton, fall. Nathan Montalvo, motor vehicle collision. Jennifer Gruby, motor vehicle accident. Terrence Lambert, sepsis. Angel Salgado, unknown. Lynn Hyben, shot and killed while delivering food. John Wheelahan, mesothelioma. Rodnell Roberto de la Cruz, fall. Sebastian Baraducci, drowning. Eric Brown, fiery crash on I-95. Dennis Slater, trench collapse. Richard Porter, unknown. Raymond Lyko, exposure to dust and fumes. Andrew Natali, motor vehicle accident. John Clappes, unknown. Michael Glynn, bladder cancer. Jack Desculo, exposure to dust and fumes. Wallace Fawkett, struck by a car, rolled over and caught fire. Juan Colon, shot. Andres Dukasnik, COVID. Dennis James Carlson, cardiac event. Stephen Bryn, struck by an automobile. John Levesque, exposure to dust and fumes. Francis Del Toro, hypertension. Ryan McInnes, motor vehicle accident. Joseph Manville, fall. Geronimo Perez Concede, cardiovascular event. Walter Litzy, pulmonary disease. Michael Holcomb, fell from a bucket truck. Anthony Desmond, asbestos. Keith Estrom, fall. Robert Garton, hit by a speeding car. Lionel Bernardo, motor vehicle accident. Daniel Ramirez, fall. Joyce Grayson, assault. Luca Fioli, carcinoma. Gary Pizzo, electrocution. However, in the last 5 years, over 200,000 workers have filed for workers' compensation injuries sustained on the job. That's over 100 workers a day filing for injured workers' compensation in Connecticut. That's us. That's our co-workers. 100 workers a day filing for injured workers' comp. We need to do better. We currently have an outmoded system of worker safety protection laws. It's based on identifying every hazard that a worker faces and then creating a rule about how to protect them, and then hiring enough inspectors to make sure that all employers follow the rules. Too many holes in the system. We need to put the power to enforce the protections in the hands of the workers directly. We need a system that borrows from other best practices to help us out. A tough whistleblower law. Just out of curiosity, how many people here have seen this poster? Well, this is the new OSHA whistleblower poster. This is on their website. This should be mandatory to be in every workplace. It should give workers a sense of what their rights are and that they have a right to raise their voice. If they don't know what their rights are, they're not going to raise their voice. That's crucial to avoid, not to be afraid to report an injury. A root cause analysis for every injury or near miss conducted by the frontline workers would be a good start. A simple checklist for each hazard that is developed by the frontline workers themselves and signed off by the CEO would be a great next step. And creating a comprehensive database of these checklists so that other employers and employees could access them easily. Authority of frontline workers and accountability of employers without a cumbersome bureaucracy to enforce rules, that makes more sense to me. But let's make a pledge that we will conduct the beginnings of this process with these 40 tragedies and give a report back next year what we found out. What do you think? Have you all signed the pledge? There's a pledge going out there. Sign the pledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. If you're ever thinking about having the courage and tenacity to stand up for what you believe in, have a conversation with Steve. At this time, if there's anybody that wants to read names, it's a tradition. We read names of those lost in the past. If there's anybody that wants to read names, please come up.
For any of you folks that don't know, that's the flag that was flying February 7th, 2010 at Clean Energy. My brother Kevin over there, the firefighter in Middletown, captured that flag. Ray Dobraz, Local 777, Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Ronnie Crabb, Local 777, Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Pete Yapoulis, Local 777, Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Kenny Haskell, Local 537, Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Roy Rushton, Canada, a pipe coverer. Vance Walters, safety coordinator from Missouri. And Vance Walters, from safety coordinator from Missouri. I already said that. I can't think of the I'm sorry? Haskell, I'm sorry. Kenny Haskell from Michigan. Yes, Kenny Haskell from Michigan. Sorry I slipped up. A little nervous.
It's all right, Paulie. We love you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Ercoli. I'm CUI Local 511. These are the members we've lost. Nicholas LeClary, Craig LeDoit, Gerald Peruccio, Ernest Lindsley, Harold Bruce, Richard Cassidy, John Paul Savoy, Darlene Falconeri, Robert Mungford, Nicholas Esposito, and Daniel Donardi.
Anybody else that needs to read any names? Okay, to give a special presentation, I want to call up a retired nurse from AFT Local 5047, Mary Consoli.
She wanted to read a name.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Nancy Rosa, retired visiting nurse, and I'm holding up my sign for the Connecticut Nurses Association. I'm here to honor the legacy of Joyce Grayson, the LPN, who was tragically murdered in Willimantic last October 28th. When I was a nursing student, I drove by the Lambiance Plaza the day that the accident occurred. And I thought those were the only kind of workplace accidents and safety hazards that existed. But let me tell you, a nurse, damn it, was murdered in her patient's home by her patient. And that is the tragedy of Willimantic. People need to know that. People need to know that when your nurse comes into your house, it's not like the olden days when I was a visiting nurse before I retired. Then you walked in dressed in blue and white, not like my friends behind me who wore nursing whites all the time, with your nursing bag and a stethoscope around your neck. And families welcomed you in. In Joyce's case, she showed up at that patient's house and she was alone. Now she was crackerjack. She was a nurse's nurse. She knew what she was doing. 35 years working for the state in the psychiatric hospitals, working for the nurses agency. Joyce knew what she was doing. So if that can happen to someone who knows what they're doing, what about the rest of us? I'm here today to honor and support Dr. Anwar, the Senate co-chairman of the Public Safety. He has done so much for our state in bringing the truth and the knowledge that you need to hear, that only a doctor, only someone from the sidelines can tell you. And I'm here as a nurse to remind you and to never forget how important nurses are. In closing, I'd like to say nurses are a precious resource in our community and around the world. Action is needed to make the workplace safe for these dedicated professionals. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Consoli, and I'm here with Athena Mays. We are members of the Connecticut Honor.
The Connecticut Nurses Honor Guard.
Thank you, Honor Guard. And thank you very much to the AFL-CIO for allowing us to be here for our inaugural presentation, the Nightingale Tribute. Nursing is a calling, a lifestyle, a way of living. We pay tribute today to all the nurses who made the ultimate sacrifice. They are not celebrated by their years as nurses, but by the difference they made during those years. By stepping into people's lives, by special moments, nurses are there. When a silent glance when a calming, quiet presence is all that is needed, nurses are there. And the excitement and miracle of a birth are in the memory of a loss of a life. Nurses are there. When a silent glance, an uplift, a patient, a family member, a friend, nurses are there. With a gentle touch, a firm push, or an encouraging word is needed, nurses are there. To witness humanity, its beauty, in good times and in bad. Without judgment, nurses are there. To embrace the woes of the world willingly and to offer hope, nurses are there. Thank you to all the nurses present today. In unity, we share our pride and esteem for the nursing profession. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think all of us and all of our family members have been served by the nursing community at some point in our lives, and we're grateful. Thank you. So I have a very quick closing remark, and we're going to end the ceremony with the playing of taps. I have a lot of people to thank in a short period of time, so I'm just going to say everybody who contributes to this event, the attendees, the organizers, our legislators, everybody who makes this event what it is every year, thank you for everything that you do. In closing, you know, I was thinking about this. There's a lot of noise these days, politically, in the news media, a lot of noise about things that we don't necessarily believe in, that don't serve us well. Don't let that drown out our voices. You all here today, you know in your hearts why we're here. You know what our fight is. You know what we do every day to help each other, make it a better world for each other. We tend to be the quiet ones. Don't be quiet. Don't let your voices be drowned out. Speak up. Drown out the voices for these negative things in the world, and let our voices be the ones that get heard. Thank you. And to close our ceremony, from the American Federations of Musicians Local 400, Stephen Owens with the playing of taps. Thank you, everybody. Be safe going home.
Side.